totally is.
Hey guys, Rick here, BigGunner81. Thanks for stopping by the channel and checking out the video today as always. Hope you guys are doing well. Today's video, well, before I begin, I should say, it's about the goofy looking thing attached to my muzzle at the beginning of this video here. That's what we're going to be talking about. And what it is a chronograph. It's the Magneto Speed V3. And I gotta say, before we go into the video any further, thank you very much to Tony, a new friend of mine that lent us this today so we could check it out and show you guys what it's all about. Very neat product. And when it comes to reloading, and if you guys are out there, I'm sure a lot of you guys are reloaders like myself, running a chronograph to get your velocity is very important. I didn't really realize how important it was, but I learned a few things going out to the range with Tony and checking out the V3 here, which is, you know, brand new product. You know, we're trying it out for the first time actually. So anyway, let's open up the box. I'll show you what's inside and we'll tell you a little more about it. Alright, so here's the Magneto Speed V3 chronograph. Very neat little tool. Some of the things I want to tell you about it. From my understanding, again, I don't have a lot of experience with chronographs, but this one is pretty damn cool for what it offers you. Now, from what I do know, it is a little more expensive than some of the regular traditional style chronographs that are out there on the market right now. But there's a big difference between it. Notice this little bayonet here. It actually attaches onto your firearm versus sitting out, you know, your whole little chronograph on a bench somewhere where you have to aim right through the little antennas or rabbit ears or whatever the heck they are, I don't even know, and risk shooting it. This is attached to your firearm. So you don't have to deal with the whole setup. You don't have to like close the range down to go set up your chronograph on a little bench or table or something like that. No messing around with that. You do have to put it attached to your firearm, which there's a little learning curve with that. It's not terrible when it comes to strapping it onto the firearm. If you're using the bayonet adapter, it's pretty well straightforward and it works really well. Now the Picatinny adapter for your bayonet. This little Picatinny adapter right here that's attached to the bayonet is an add-on. It's not a very expensive add-on, but it is something I would recommend picking up because if you want to shoot with a pistol, you're not going to have a real good way to actually strap this to your pistol. So the Picatinny mount is the way to go with that. Now, one thing I'll mention too is some, you know, pistols have different style Picatinny rails. Some have one slot, some have a few slots. This particular setup, you can actually flip this little red insert around to make it work properly. If you say you have just one little slot or something on the front of it, on the rail. So that's kind of how that works. But it's very easy to set up and it's very easy to use. So yeah, you don't have to worry about the whole setting it up on a bench like a traditional one. You also don't have to worry about the ambient light. Like from my understanding, that traditional chronographs don't like to work on indoor ranges because they require enough light to actually work properly. This doesn't require light, so you could shoot this in the dark if you want to, although I wouldn't really recommend it. You know, you could, and it would still record. And yeah, so that's a really neat feature of it, that you don't have to worry about the lighting conditions, and you don't have to worry about really shooting it as long as you set it up properly, because you're not sitting out on a bench trying to aim your shot through the little rabbit ears. Which also brings up another thing. You can actually shoot at targets with this while using it. You know, you can shoot, I should rephrase that. You can shoot at a target with your firearm while you're chronographing and getting the velocity of your loads. So I guess in theory you can kind of check your accuracy as well as your velocity at the same time. However, this is not a very heavy tool, but it does add a little bit of weight to your muzzle, so it might affect your accuracy, I suppose, to some degree. I don't know. Now, if you're bench shooting, probably not. You're shooting with a handgun, maybe. It's really hard to say, but it's probably a negligible amount if you're doing it with a handgun anyway, as far as the accuracy goes. But yeah, besides the Picatinny mount, you also have this little strap set up here. Kind kind of straps around like your fore end or your handguard or whatever you want to call it, and it attaches onto the bottom of the bayonet here. And what you basically do is you wrap the strap around it, you cinch down the strap, and once you get it as tight as you can get it, you use the thumb screw to take up the rest of the little bit of slop or slack to tighten down the strap as tight as you can, or as tight as required, I guess, to keep the bayonet from sliding around or moving. And there's different spacers here, so you can space it out properly and all that kind of stuff. You know, basically that this attaches with, in place of this Picatinny mount, there is these little adapters here that kind of go on and kind of sit on here, and they just act as like, you know, kind of like a little, I don't know how you can say it, it's just a little spacer kind of. And there's little rubbery pads here too that go on there as well to help keep this bayonet in place from slipping and sliding around. So the other thing is, when you're setting it up, they give you this little guide rod. It's a little 1/4 inch like rod that you use as a spacer, or to check the space or clearance from the muzzle or from the bore. So what you want is, you know, your bore, like the hole in the barrel, to be no closer than the 1/4 inch. Because if it's closer than a 1/4 inch, you probably risk possibly shooting this bayonet, and you don't want to destroy this because it's, you know, part of your tool here. So this is a way to check your clearance to make sure you have the minimum amount of clearance for the bayonet not to get struck by a projectile. Very easy to do. So when you're using the strap just to attach it versus the Picatinny mount or adapter, one thing I found is if you're using like a quad rail or any type of like, say like a key mod fore end or something like that, but it has a rail on the top, the strap kind of catches the edges of the Picatinny or Weaver rail on the top. So when you're trying to pull it nice and tight before you to set your pre-tension on the strap, sometimes the strap gets caught on the edges of that. So what I found is if you take this little rubber piece here, and this may be why they have this, I'm not sure, or just to add maybe a little extra grip so it doesn't slide, you put this around the top, you know, where the rail is, and then the rubber kind of digs in a little bit into the rail, not terribly, but enough to keep the webbing here from actually grabbing into the corners, the edges of the rail or whatever, so that it can cinch down nice and tight, nice and snug like it needs to be. So that's something I just wanted to kind of point out about it. Now, the cool thing, and I don't know how a lot of the other chronographs work. I don't know if they do data logging. I mean, I'm sure some do. I would imagine they do. But this one has some really cool features as far as the data logging. And I'll kind of show you. This is like the the control unit, or whatever you want to call it, monitor, whatever. It has a micro SD card that it records onto, and it records it in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet file. So that's really neat because it's very easy to get the information off of this, and it sorts it out very well. It archives the data by like string 1 or whatever, or and string 2, and has as many shots as you need to take basically that it can hold data for, and it'll give you the average, it'll give you the minimum, the maximum velocity, things like that, which is pretty cool. But one other feature I really like about this, and this company is really kind of well thought out, this product. Of course, from my understanding, it's version 3, V3. Well, got the 9-volt battery in there. Nice little interstate battery. That's pretty cool. But it also, I believe it takes CR123s. You can use 2 of them. You see like there's little contacts here. So if you don't have a 9-volt and you have a couple of the CR123s, because say you use them like in your tactical flashlight or whatever, or your laser, or your scope or whatever, you can use those in place of it, which is pretty neat. So there's a little more versatility to this product. Another thing too to mention, like I talked about earlier, about not having to shoot through little rabbit ears. Well, you can also actually shoot with full auto with this, and it'll pick up pick up the velocities very accurately. Now, of course, I didn't have a full auto to test it with. Maybe one day we'll test it with a bumpfire stock or something. But I did a little quick rapid fire with it, as you saw in the intro here, and it picked up all those shots perfectly. It was amazing. So I thought that was pretty cool. And for example, if you had a full auto or a bump fire stock and you wanted to, do data logging with it for the chronograph stuff, you'd have a hard time aiming your shots to those little rabbit ears, I would think. So that might not really be very helpful if you wanted to do that just for fun. But again, I guess when you're chronographing, you're not really looking at your velocities on a full auto status. But maybe there's a reason why you'd want to. I don't know. I'm not really sure with that. But that's mostly it. Now, one thing I want to mention too is on the actual bayonet, there's 2 jacks to attach the cable to. One on the back, one on the bottom. Now, with a pistol, and you got it in the Picatinny rail here, you're going to have a trigger guard in the way, so you're not going to get that access to that plug. So that's why they put it on the bottom too, I imagine. Very neat, very well thought out. Now, yeah, you could have one jack attachment point, but maybe if you want to do a bench rest type thing with it, you don't want the plug coming out the bottom. So it's neat that they actually thought and kind of thought this out and made some versatility into this product. So also I want to show you on this too. It does come with 2 cords. It comes with a regular cord like this and a nice little retractable one. I like this little retractable one, but I'm guessing they probably have this cord too for like handguns, because you don't really want the retractable one when you want to be able to move around a little bit more and things like that. I don't know. But as soon as you plug this in, this is what turns the power on. That's kind of a neat feature. And it's got the backlighting there. Magneto speed V3. You have a sensitivity adjustment. Now it tells you the bayonet is unplugged. And of course shows you the speeds of all your shots and everything. And you can go through all this. Like if you need to delete a shot, like oops, I had the wrong round in there. I didn't want to have that in the data, and it kind of screwed it up. You can delete a shot. Or, if you have something that's really crazily out there that just didn't belong in your data logging. Got the sensitivity. Let's see what else. Reset series 1, so you can reset it so it'll start all over. Clear, whatever series of shots you're taking right now. View the archive data so you can look at it. You can't edit it, but you can look at it. Check out the battery. There you go. See if it's got CR123, so it takes that, so you can set which battery, or it'll tell you what it's running on or whatever. So yeah, we know the bayonet's unplugged. Let's see what else we got. Data checker menu, operating modes, feet per second or meters per second, so depending on where you're at. Not sure what SD and ES is. I have to look at the manual, we'll see that. Memory card function, set backlight mode. You turn the backlighting off, so if you don't need the backlighting, like you can actually see it pretty well, might as well save the batteries, right? I know you guys probably can't see this display. I'll bring it up a little closer, but nice little just plain text display. There's all types of cool little things you can do with it, but for a chronograph, it is pretty impressive, I would say. Now again, costs a little bit more than what your traditional chronographs go for, but you're getting a lot more features for the money, and in my opinion, it's well worth it, especially when you don't have to deal with the headache of setting up your bench or whatever. And in this case, like with the Picatinny adapter, it's throw it on and plug it in and you're pretty much good to go. Just double check your spacing on your barrel and your bore to make sure that you're not going to clip the sensor with a projectile. You don't want to do that. That'd be bad. But that is pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching, and hope you guys learned something about the Magneto Speed V3. I think it's a really great tool, and thank you again, Tony, for lending it to us today to check out. Until next time, go have some fun chronographing or shooting. I guess you could do both with this setup, so go have fun.